Do not be anyone but yourself on stream. Perhaps that's a little bit unique to me because my show format, especially during the Day 9 dailies, were 90-minute lectures about the strategy and depth of StarCraft. That's the sort of thing where some of it was planning, a lot of it was improvisation. And I think it was around daily number 30 or 40 or 50, sometime very early when I was just feeling bad. I was feeling bad, and I tried to suppress that energy. And just the whole show was weird and was way harder than any show I've ever done, and it just felt bad, and I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. It just felt horrible. If you're in a bad mood, you don't have to go live and be like, I had a bad mood because the woman at the grocery store lost my credit card. You don't need to direct it at anyone. But there are times when I've done my show and I'm in an amazing mood. I'm just feeling like I'm the king of the world. Like I can move tiny objects with my mind. I feel so good. So I bring that. I don't try to suppress that or do something different. I bring that. And the shows go really great. Or if I'm just in a quieter mood, or if I'm actually in a really shitty mood, I'll bring a little bit of bitterness to the show. Or I'm like, well, it's a druid again. I'm not going to sit there and be like, today sucks! Sometimes I do that, but I'm not going to try to keep the focus on my feelings. I want to keep the focus on the content, but in doing that, I'm not going to try to become someone who I am not on that particular day. Because people are very multidimensional across the board. Even the most consistent human you'll meet is very multidimensional. So whatever dimension you are on a Wednesday, be that person focused on your show on that Wednesday. When I'm in a bad mood and I do a HearthStone show, you'll hear a little bit of it in there, but I'll still be focused on doing the show and that sort of thing. So that's the first big thing that I learned was, not the first big thing, that's the first thing on this list of important things is to be yourself when you bring yourself to the show. I'm going to put this in the blunt way first and the nuanced way second. Here's the blunt thing. When you're doing something creative, ignore everybody but yourself. Just focus on your own internal compass and barometer as to how well you're doing. People will sometimes say, you did a great show, that was awesome. And I just think, you're wrong. That was a horrible show. And here's 100 things I could have done better. And there are some people who will say, that was okay, but I think, nope, I did that as well as I could have. I'm proud of that. And I think that that is very important. And I will give a more nuanced version of this, which is that you should not look to feedback and that sort of thing for guidance. You should look for feedback and critique as validation, or more simply as data. If you try too much when you're doing something creative to be guided by or to please people who consume it, you will wind up with a weak echo of what someone thinks will be interesting to them. What made the Day 9 Daily so incredibly successful was that it was almost my diary. It was me just talking about what I love to talk about and what interested me about StarCraft and Brood War. It wasn't that I said, what will people love? I think they will love a strategy show, and how should I make that strategy show so that people love it? It's what I wanted to talk about and nothing else. Even when the viewership started to really drop, I was like, no, I want to do this. Yeah, the viewership is a third what it was or a half what it was. And this is what I want to talk about. And even during those periods, it was incredibly successful. In part because that's the thing that I really listen to. And I think that that's an important thing. Because there's a lot of creators out there who are looking to... It's almost like it's a strong reaction. We write, 2 chapters of books, say, what do you think? So it's like, I don't like this and this and this and this and this and this. But it's okay to hear it, but it's not okay to just discard this stuff that you've spent 100 hours thinking about that they've spent 1 hour consuming and thinking about, right? So that's I think it's something very important to do, is to make sure you have that. And it's not screw other people, it's all about you. It's that there's this great piece by Ira Glass, who's a radioer. He does radio shows. I don't know what the word for that is. He's a radioer. And he talks about the idea of having a taste, and that when you get into a creative work, you have good taste. But when you do a creative production, you make your own creative work, it feels bad because there's a gap between what the produced thing is and what your taste is. And this distance, that's how bad it feels. And the important thing is not to give up, it's just to work through that, because eventually your ability to create something will align with what your taste is. And it's important to work hard on your taste and to make sure you have a good compass in here of, I really like that. That's what I really like. That's really good. And to spend more time thinking about what you like and what you find interesting and cool and good, and to develop that taste, and then to be relentless about producing and trying to close that gap. So that's something that I spent so much time thinking about. I mean, geez, I've done almost... must be something in like 1,300 live shows. It's got to be something like that. It's got to be something like well over 1,000 live shows. And I think a lot about that idea of throughput and taste. I think that that's important. Oh yeah, whatever mood you're in, bring that. The second one is about listening to your own creative voice and trusting in that more so than external feedback. And those external feedback can be useful for you to help understand your own taste, but this thing in here is what's more important. And just as a side note, in terms of the success of most creative products, almost all creative products are focused on target markets, which is a very fancy marketing way of saying a lot of people are going to hate it, but the people who like it a lot. Don't worry about everyone else. Worry about the people who are going to like it, man. And again, that's what this is. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. Here's the third. This is a nice way to wrap up. This is a nice way to wrap up. With anything that you want to do, emphasis on want to do, there is the thing that you want to do, and then there's the stuff that you need to do in order to do that. Don't disregard this need to do. I want to do shows about StarCraft strategy. I need to learn about video encoding and computing power and the overheating that can happen if I don't properly assign the affinity of my cores for streaming. I need to know that in order to do this thing that I want to do. And a lot of the big difference between people who have dreams and the people who achieve dreams are the people who slog through the need to do shit. If you want to write a book, you want to write a good book that people love, you're going to need to write several million words and several bad novels. If you want to be a musical composer, you're going to need to spend a lot of time just not composing, learning how to play an instrument, writing shitty compositions, hating them. You're going to need to do that. And I spent so much time just figuring out how to make my stream function at all. And that's what allowed me to do what I actually wanted to do. There's even people who I've spoken to, I've said, here's the things you need to do in order to stream. Learn this program, learn these video codecs, learn this conversion software, learn this about audio for editing. And they just said, it sounds like a lot of work, I don't want to do it. Do the stuff that you need to do. So there's a pile of thoughts. Those are not the three most important things, except for the second one, which I really, really, really believe in. Those are simply three things that I learned while streaming, and I hope that that was an interesting and satisfactory answer. I'm going to poof, go. Bum, ba, da, da.